My name is Mary R. Fortuna, born April 19th, 1944, and I will not answer to Mary.
You answer to?
Joe.
Joe.
My name is Elizabeth R. Marlowe, March the 27th, 1948, and I answer to Betsy.
I was born in Columbia because there was no hospital in Georgetown where our parents lived. So I don't, the first memories of Columbia are when we visited our grandmother.
How about you?
Well, I was born in King Street because there still was no hospital in Georgetown when I was born. And also because I was a twin, I am a twin, and that was by then they had, most people were born in the doctor's offices by then, but because of the twin thing, and we were born in King Street. And I, of course, have no memory of that. I have vague memories of Georgetown as a young child.
I can remember running away to downtown from our home on the foot of Front Street, which was in the marsh at the time. That's probably one of my first memories. And I think that might have been on my 3rd birthday. And it was a big deal because everyone was there but me.
So what gave you the notion to run away?
I don't know.
Just wanted to go somewhere.
I liked it.
Okay.
Mostly, I think it was Pawleys Island, and not Georgetown, because I can remember going there, of course, in the summer, and playing on the beach and just having free reign. I remember a little bit about Georgetown, but we moved away when I was 5, so I think I was 5, yeah. And so I don't remember that much about it, just coming back, you know. But mainly being at Pawleys Island in the summertime,
Okay.
and it was fun.
So where did you move to at 5? When you were
Panama City, Florida. There was a paper mill there.
5?
And our
stayed
father,
there? How long?
12 years,
12 years.
12 years.
And then came back?
Then we came back. When we came back, we came to Pawleys, because by then our grandmother had moved to Pawleys Island. So, but we were here every summer. Mother was not going to be in Panama City any more than she had to be. South Carolina was home, very much so.
And it was home for
Yeah.
us both.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was, we all ended up here.
I can remember those trips back. It was 12 hours, and Mother none of us could drive at the time. The 12 years we lived there, maybe you could at the last part, but she would put us in the car, you know, which, you know, at the time was not air conditioned. And
4 kids and a
those
dog.
trips were, and do the trip in one day. I can't imagine that. And I can remember coming when we got to Santee, North Santee. We felt like we were there. All the marsh flats around Beaufort, because that's where Mother was from. She felt like she was home when she got there. And then we, you know, went over the bridge and, you know, Savannah, and then we got to North Santee, and then all the pine trees, and you could see the moon through the pine trees because she'd been driving all day long, and and then coming up to.
As soon as I smelled pluff mud, I knew we were.
Yeah,
we were
so
here.
I can really remember. That's really mostly the trips, you know, back and forth.
Well, I'm oldest. Betsy and Claire, middle, and Charlotte's
The
youngest. So Betsy and Claire and Charlotte were more very close together.
Okay.
And
Claire has the memory.
yeah,
You know how siblings, there was someone who holds the memories. She holds the memories that I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, we mainly, those of us, the younger ones, grew up in Panama City, and then had some of our teenage years here, and so we were settled here. But Joe, you'd already settled.
well, sort of.
Before.
I had married
So to
early
speak.
and stayed in Florida for a while.
Okay.
I remember not a lot because I was busy working, but we would see things about her in the paper, and especially that wonderful spread about her, the celebration of her. I can't remember what year it was. And my husband and I would try to get over here at least once a year and bring something, like a turkey. And she always was so gracious and so, she wanted to know who we were. And we said, it doesn't really matter, you know, this is just a gift for you. So, but what I do remember is her presence. She was such a, you could just tell she was a very resolute person. Yeah, so I didn't know her well, but it was quite evident what I'd read about her had, you know, was just a tip of the iceberg of what she must have done.
My husband, my late husband, was a Pawleys Island native, so he knew her. So I didn't know her. I knew who she was, and she knew who I was. But one of my first real memories of her was when she got an honorary doctorate from Coastal, and I think it was '91, because that was at the same time my husband got his bachelor's degree rather late in life. And so it was such a wonderful honor and so great to be there for, of course, both events. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. So I remember that, and that was a big deal. And it was, you know, several years before she passed away. But I remember hearing about the school and knowing about the school. And then I taught at Waccamaw Elementary, first grade, and I had some children who had been to school here. In my class, because I moved over there in '94, so I do remember having children who had been taught at the school. I think by then it was mostly the preschool. I don't know when they moved to the preschool model, but because Waccamaw had been here a while then. But just very much of a presence. Even as little as she was a presence. And so how proud we all were that when she got that doctorate. Yeah.
We had decided that what we would do. I had taken a 4-year education for ministry thing here, and so it's education to have a ministry, and I settled on children and education. And I had read about the program that we ended up replicating. And as we began to organize, the organization needed a name. And in early of 2000, 2001, the church had reluctantly closed the school. It could no longer support it as it needed to be supported. And it was a blow, I thought, to the community. And so when we got around to what do we name the organization, I said, it has to be Miss Ruby's Kids, in memory of what she did and to carry her legacy forward. And the church who was sponsoring us at the time agreed. But the thing that we forgot to do was check with the family. We didn't. Fortunately, it turned out that it was all right with them. But we felt she is so entwined in this community, and now all those children are scattered everywhere in education, that we could do no better than to honor her and carry her legacy forward.
When I met her granddaughter, who has the school, and we talked about it, and I've read about her school online. I haven't been there to visit. That was one of the things on our list, that she still lives through her granddaughter. and through the children. We had a home visitor, like I said, who'd been to school here, and when we would, once in a while, we would have some event here, a Miss Ruby's Kids event here, and people who'd been to school here would, it's still here in the room, you know, they would talk about, and this was over here, and this was over here. And I am assuming that you've met Lee Brockington.
Yes. She's all right.
She's done, she knew Miss Ruby well, and she has helped bring a lot of that alive for me because I wasn't here, and for a good part of the time I was not here in Pawleys Island. I was gone for a while. We had some pictures that were taken by a woman, oh my goodness, wait a minute, Marguerite Parks. She gave us some photographs, you know, she is in Wisconsin, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. She's a dean or something like that.
Okay.
I've got, she shared some pictures. She worked her doctoral, is it her doctoral work, I believe? It's in the library.
There is a dissertation.
Yeah, dissertation,
There
yeah.
was a dissertation about this.
But anyway, she shared those, and and some of the pictures are from the last year of Miss Ruby's life, and they're of graduation, the last graduation, and so I just feel like I learned so much and just kind of absorbed so much of it. And with the background in first grade and social work, I more and more understand how important it is to have that community and the children to be surrounded with love and support. And sometimes that love has to have some strict boundaries around it, you know? But for them to have what they need to be successful in life, they've got to know that there's somebody who cares and that believes that they can do it. I'll, you know, never say I can't, always say I'll try. And so I remember that. That's just kind of, that's a legacy, is to keep moving and to do the best you can wherever you are. And that, I think she did.
I can talk briefly. Betsy can talk volumes.
Okay.
I had seen an article in the Parade magazine long before I even took the Education for Ministry. It was about the Parent-Child Home program and how it worked with 2- and 3-year-olds and modeling using books and toys to the parent to ready the child to read. So when the idea of doing something along the lines of education, and that in particular, I checked with Betsy. And we both were trained as coordinators, but Betsy, being an educator, can tell you far more. I just knew that intuitively after reading that if that was not the program, it was, you know, I didn't know what could be. It looked very good.
Betsy, tell me a little bit.
Well, the Parent-Child Home program is in its 51st year, and it was born in during the war on poverty and around the beginnings of the Head Start program. And Phyllis Levenstein was doing her doctoral work, and one of the things that people noticed when they were beginning these programs, the early intervention programs, was that sometimes the children wouldn't retain the learning that they got, that extra learning they got, you know, Head Start and things like that. And Dr. Levenstein was interested in what were the causes, why weren't they retaining that? And I guess she's probably not the only one, but decided that maybe it was something that was happening before the children ever made it to school, because they don't usually start Head Start till they're 3. And so something's happening that that makes them lose that Head Start, as it were. And so the Parent-Child Home program was originally started as a high school dropout prevention program. We serve children who are 2, beginning when they're 2, till the age of 4, so 2 years, and intensive home visitation sessions with a trained home visitor who they were originally called toy demonstrators. Go into the home twice a week for 2 years and model for the parent how to work and play with their child using the books and toys that are supplied by the program. Because also these children have to be at risk of school failure, and poverty is the biggest thing. It's really a modeling, or I call it mentoring, for the parent.
Okay.
So the parent has to be there and the parent has to participate. So what happens is there's a change in that parent-child relationship and a strengthening of the parent's ability to be able to give the child what he or she needs to become successful. The statistics for the historical statistics for the school preparedness and high school graduation rate for parent-child home program children is like 84% graduation rate, which is above the national average. Now, Miss Ruby's kids, since we started in 2003, don't have any children who've graduated from high school yet, but we do follow our children in as much as we can. And we also have a mentoring program, which is something that we started but is not part of the parent-child home program.
Okay.
So some of our children are mentored up into elementary school. 5th grade now is, I think, the cutoff. But so they have mentors, and we follow those children, and they're doing well as a rule. The goal is to get them up on par with middle-class children. And certainly, for the most part, I think that does that, because the things that they might not have in their home if they're living in poverty, or they have parents with low levels of English skills or language skills, or low levels of education, you can kind of help by giving them some of the advantages of having that one-on-one, well, one-on-two,
Right.
and that support. It's gentle. It's not a home visitor going in there and saying, well, this is not how you do it. It's modeling for the parent, and sometimes doing it with the child, working with the child, so the parent can see it. So that the goal is for, by the end of the 2 years, for the parent to take over those home visits. And that's really a beautiful thing to see. It takes some parents longer. Some parents are what they call hesitators, and they are just, they're a little anxious, but then there are others who just sort of pick it up and they run with it. And when the child knows the person who's coming twice a week is going to bring them a new toy or book every week, they kind of catch on and they're real excited right in the beginning. The parents, sometimes it takes them a little longer. When their child starts being the child that they can brag about because they're so smart, then some parents will pick up. And it just depends, But it's a beautiful program, and it's so simple and elegant, and it's changed not really much at all in no substantial way since it was started in 51 years ago. So that's pretty good. That it's still the model. And Miss Ruby's Kids is a replication site, so there's a real strict replication protocol, and every 5 years Miss Ruby's Kids has to go through a recertification, to the point that they have to give them records. We have to record the staff meetings. We have to give data every year, about how we show fidelity to the model. So it's a real important research-based and research-reinforced home visitation model.
And the last time I checked with you or knew, Miss Ruby's Kids was the only independent, not school-sponsored.
Or part of a larger, say like this Jewish Community Center might have a parent-child home program. But and the last I checked with the national office, they like Miss Ruby's Kids. And I think they didn't think right at first that we would be successful as just a standalone. Because they didn't know. They didn't have any experience, but they didn't know us.
Yeah.
And they didn't know the legacy. They didn't know that, never say I can't, always, never say I can't, always say I'll try. Well, we just did it.
You know, it's a good thing sometimes you don't know what is going to happen or how things will play out, because I can remember clearly saying, Betsy, this doesn't look hard. Well, it's reading with children, and it doesn't, you know, you need
How hard is that?
You need to be part of it. And she's, oh, well, I'm not sure.
I just retired. I don't know about working full time.
Again.
And of course, it turned out to be, even in its beginnings, we began to see the size of the job ahead, because it's not just the program. The program is actually the easy, well, Betsy would probably argue with me a little bit.
Well, it is in a way, because there's no arguing with it.
You have to do it to remain certified. The other part is you have to make it sustainable. And I felt the mighty weight of that responsibility very clearly.
Okay.
So you do want something that, especially since you're honoring such a person with such a long history of, you know, being steady to what she believed in and working very hard, you want to make sure that this organization continues. It's quite a charge, and I think, you know, Betsy has done a fantastic job. She's just retired again, so, and in making, you know, carrying that ball, you know, getting that program firmly established, caring for it so diligently, it's a real, oh, kudos.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's very difficult, though, to separate from Holy Cross as a program. We knew that we were limited in how we could grow if we were here, because we were under the fiscal sponsorship of a nonprofit here on the campus, and we couldn't really grow like we needed to into the parts of the county that needed it, because we were here on there was a twofold thing. One, because physically we didn't have room to grow here. Although we were supported and still supported by the church, we needed to be a separate entity so that we could apply for grants on our own and things like that. And so also to reach, to have more county-wide support, because as a county, we needed to be, as we were told by Pat Strickland and she was the head of United Way at the time, you need to cross the bridge. You need to go into, so we spent a little time on Front Street until we got entry into the school district office. And it's really, they do rent out space to nonprofits, and that is the perfect place, because what we work on is school readiness, and we also have the mentoring program. So the office has been in Georgetown at the school district office since 2009, September 2009. And it's perfect because they're perfect partners. People, when we say Miss Ruby's Kids, sometimes they would think, oh, the school. And we needed to move it out of this one spot so that that legacy could be a larger legacy than just identified with one spot. So that was another reason. That was sort of looking back and say that was a good thing. Because maybe there might be people in other parts of the county who didn't really know as much. And so I think it was a great thing. And now, certainly people all over the state, when we say Miss Ruby's Kids, oh yeah. And we worked on that. And we really did work on one of the things that, it was right in here we were talking about in this building when we were doing strategic planning, to make Miss Ruby's Kids a household name. And with the help of the library, I mean,
yes.
just all kinds of ways, and then even in the state now. So.
And it's been a wonderful partnership. You had to partner with other entities like the library. It's not possible to do what you need to do by yourself, although we will chug along, but no, the collaborations, you know, is the sum is the whole greater than the number of people. I mean, I forget how you say that, but somehow it synergizes into something much bigger.
One of the things that we started doing here that it's not done in a lot of the sites in the United States is there's a model, a group model of the Parent-Child Home Program designed for small family child care homes, where the provider is like the parent, because a lot of times they are the parent of one of the children, and then there's a group of children up to maybe 6. Sometimes in the group model that's a little larger, maybe up to 12, I believe. And that is an opportunity to reach some of those children, because we think about the children too, that wouldn't necessarily, their parents might not be available or able to do the home visits themselves because they're off working. So that has been something that we learned about in 2004. We went to our first Parent-Child Home Conference, and we're just like, well, we're not ready for that because you have to be doing the traditional model. And so we sort of jumped on that and ran with that. And so that's one thing that Miss Ruby's Kids does that a lot of the Parent-Child Home programs do not do. And I think that's great. It just expands the reach, you know.
I can tell you that I did much of the back office stuff, so I didn't get to do contact with the children, except at the beginning I did a little bit of videography of some of the visits, so that we could have a record for ourselves and use it for learning and use it to educate other people about the program. But that was so close to my heart. I wished that I could have done more than that. But I got to do other things to help the program and support the program. But that was my highlight. And the thing I loved, and I loved being around when it was so small, and we had 2 or 3 home visitors. Being able to
There were 3 of us. Yeah.
Being able to hear the discussion about what went on and how it worked, and maybe the problems, and everybody pitching in and figuring out solutions. So, it was good to get a chance to see it in action.
The meetings, the staff meetings, a requirement of a replication status is to have 2-hour meetings with the home visitor and the coordinator every week. It's staff development. That's when someone might bring up an issue and get some help, or the toys and books are supposed to be presented in a certain way so that they'll talk about different concepts you might bring up, and use the toy or book in the meeting and talk about it and have, share some ideas. And then they might share some stories respecting confidentiality. Be very careful about confidentiality, and you do it in a certain way. But maybe a home visitor is having a problem saying, well, I just can't seem to get forward with this mother and the child. This is what is happening. And they might give, other people might give some suggestions. And there's always the national office. If we had a big problem, they offer technical support. So you just call them up and say, I'm having this problem. Has anybody else? What do we do? What do you suggest we do? Or this parent wants us to do this, and we don't think it's right. So you can always go there. But that's the meetings are when you can share stories. But sometimes they're just. Most recently, I was talking with a mentor, and her little boy is in the 3rd grade. And so that means he's been with Miss Ruby's Kids since he was 2. He was in the program 2 years, and then she started with him maybe when he was 4 or 5, maybe with the mentoring program. And she is over the moon with how well he's doing. He's in the 3rd grade and reading at 4th grade level. And this lady travels a lot, and she'll send him stuff or bring him a T-shirt back from when she's traveled. You can't, gifts are not, you know, maybe a book or something like that, but you have to be careful about that, but so that he doesn't expect something every time she leaves town. But she said he just, you know, she asked him what kind of books he liked, and so he likes dinosaurs and snakes or something like that. So she brought him a couple of books, and the teacher has been, every time she go, he's gonna make the honor roll. I'm so proud of him. You're doing such a good job. And she is, well, what she's getting out of it. And this lady doesn't have children. She has grandnieces or stuff like that, but she doesn't have children of her own. So this has been something, she's retired now, and so she's got something she's got time to do. And she is, it might as well be her grandchild, you know. She's so proud of him, and he just loves her like you wouldn't believe. And then he has a little sister who was also in the program. This was a family that needed a lot of help, and a mother that it was difficult for her to engage. She had lots of children, and sometimes she was distracted during the home visits. So what's been good for this child, and I think his sister, is the mentoring part that kept that close relationship with an organization that was supportive. I don't know that, I'm not sure, I can't remember because I wasn't the home visitor, but I remember from some of those meetings that home situation was not as successful as some. Some, it's just like they take it and they run with it. Others, you think, I wonder how this child's going to do, but to have the mentoring program to continue that and have good teachers and mentors and the parent all working together. You know, sometimes parents just don't have a lot of energy left when you've got a lot of children. It's not that they don't care about them. If they didn't care about them, they wouldn't sign up for the program, and they wouldn't stay with it for 4 years, basically, because she had 2 children in the program. But you know what I'm talking about. So it was just, this mentor is just, and then they talk about other mentors. It's like they have this grandchild, and some of them, or some of the mentors will do a scrapbook with their child every year, and those are real dedicated. We have some male mentors, and they are wonderful with those little boys. They just, and they just, sometimes it's, the child just wants to be heard. One of our first male mentor, I think, and he'd worked with Boys and Girls Club before, but he said, it was after a year of mentoring, that he thought that this would be a gift that he was giving the child. You know, his presence and his coming and stuff like that. And he, by the end of the year, he realized that what the child needed is just to be heard. And so his gift was to listen and to be there. And the child is too old for the mentor now, but that was what he learned, and that sometimes the best gift you can give the child is for them to be able to talk to you and to, you know, just have an ear. Some adult who isn't paid to do it and who doesn't have to do it because they're the parent, that comes there just for them once a week, and that's just a once a week thing. So that's cool.
Yeah, and when Betsy was talking about something triggered this. I know the thing. I live with numbers, but the other, and so the image that comes to my mind is, well, one thing is we know that we're building a literacy tradition, and that parent will be able to pass it on to any future children, and those children that went through that program will have that firmly in mind. You believe and you would hope that they will carry that on with their own children, and so it has a potential to be exponential. It's you know, it's like dandelions seed the world.
There's that special. Now, I wish now that I had all this knowledge when my children were little, because they're 29 and 33. But I knew enough to read to them every day and have lots of opportunities. I mean, it was a literacy, you know, rich household. It just wasn't, not to the level that that we encourage the parents, the parent-child home parents. But I have this one grandchild now who, of course, is just the smartest child that ever lived. But of course, she's not quite 2, and she has been read to since birth. I mean, I've got the first storybook, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. I mean, it just so happens, it doesn't really matter at that age what you're reading, that you're reading, and I've got this picture from when she was like 2 days old, whatever like that. And now if you make eye contact with her, you better be ready to read her whatever book she's got in her hand. And I can see it. And when she was 6 weeks old and had to start childcare, they could tell at daycare that she was being read to at 6 weeks old. And I'm thinking, wow, if you could just impart that. Now, Miss Ruby's kids doesn't start till they're 2, but maybe these parents will become the kind who do read. And there's a picture of one little girl that we had in the program, and she had a baby brother born during the time that she was having home visits. And some of the pictures are the mother with the baby in her lap while the home visit's going on. And I understand, this was years ago, that little boy was just very much loved to be read to. And when they start school, if they've got that regular reading, habit, they know how to hold a book, they know what's going to happen, and they're familiar with a lot of the stories because you've read them like 50,000 times. One book is, they own it. That's mine. I got that, And if they can start school with that feeling that they own it, whatever book it is or whatever, that feeling of reading and being, empowered, they've got it made. And they'll do well, and maybe they'll have less strife and stress, and maybe the parents will have less stress, because parents are not as isolated as, if you've got somebody coming in twice a week at your invitation. That also cuts down on the amount of the potential for neglect or abuse. When the parents have positive things, positive parenting skills they can use with their children, and see that their children respond to that positive, then there are a lot of good things. Now, Parent-Child Home Program doesn't bill itself as being a child abuse prevention program, but I think that's one of the byproducts of having a wonderful program like that.
That her dream is going on.
Yeah, we got it. And your name will live. Your name will live, and the honors and honoring that legacy of service to the underserved.
I'm sure that her dream was for every child.
Yeah.
To have that advantage.
Yeah.
And that is definitely one of the goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Honored to have been part of the legacy.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing.